Hi dear students, today I am going to discuss the chapter number 7, Conservation of Plants and Animals. We know that Earth is unique in the sense that life exists on the Earth and surroundings. And one more thing that different kinds of organisms, including microorganisms that we have learned in chapter number 2, are the part of this living world. And animals, plants, etc. So different kinds of organisms. And out of these, plants and animals, plants means including the plants which gives food and also the part of forest and the wildlife. These all are plays a vital role in the balancing of this ecosystem and the living world. But nowadays, their life is threatened by certain human activities as well as some natural phenomena. So it is very important to know that how to protect or how to conserve this wildlife and the forest. So that we are going to discuss in this chapter, that is conservation of plants and animals. The main threat to the life of wildlife and plants, that is deforestation. What is deforestation? The clearing of forest and using that land for other purpose. That means cutting the trees in the forest and clearing that forest and using for other purpose. Not only the land, the trees also. So this is called deforestation. Let's discuss what are the causes. How does this deforestation occur? First one is that procuring land for cultivation. Clearing the forest and using that land for the cultivation and plantation. That is a human activity. Second one is that building houses and factories. We need a big land for making factories. So we will cut off the trees and clearing that one, and we will build the factories as well as houses, apartment, flat, etc. The third reason, main reason, is that making furniture or using wood as a fuel. For making amazing furnitures, nowadays we are using quality assured wood. And also we are using wood as a fuel. That is a form of firewood. And another main reason is that forest fire and severe drought. That is a natural phenomenon. That is not human activities. The first three we have discussed that are human activities. The fourth one is actually natural. It is because of the natural phenomenon. Recently, in the different part of the world, different countries, forest fire occur frequently. Recently, 2 years back or 1 year back, in Australia, a huge forest fire was there, and many animals were dead. So, these are the reasons for deforestation. And in addition to that, nowadays many other reasons also you can list out. These are the four main reasons we have discussed. Now, if this deforestation happen, what will be the consequences after effect of the deforestation? First one is it leads to global warming. Global warming is the stage of increased temperature on the earth from the usual temperature. That is a very important consequence which we are facing nowadays. We can just compare the temperature in our areas. The average temperature in our areas are high compared to the previous years because it is a result of global warming. And next, it could cause drought as it affects the water cycle and may reduce rainfall. We know that the water present in the earth is balanced by a cycle called water cycle. It involves four main processes like evaporation, condensation, and precipitation collection. Plants also play a vital role in the balancing of water cycle as they do the process transpiration. If the forests are clear out, then the plants will not be there to balance this water cycle. So it affects the water cycle. As it affects the water cycle means then it leads to the less rainfall, which finally result in drought. So that is the second consequence. We know that plants reduce the soil erosion as it holds the soil with its roots. But if less amount of plants are present due to deforestation, then the humus rich and fertile outermost layer of the soil will be removed by soil erosion because there is not much number of plants to hold this outermost layer of the soil. As a result of this, the lower layer of the soil, which are hard and rocky in nature, will be exposed. That means the humus rich and the fertile land will be slowly converted to desert. This is called a desertification. This is happen actually as a result of deforestation. Once it is become like a desert, then it is become not suitable for growing the crops, which affect our food production. Okay, so this is the third impact. You can see the picture like the soil will be like this. That means it will be dried and it will be look like a desert. And next one is that it affect the properties of soil like water holding capacity, nutrient content and texture. We know that these properties of the soil are very important for the proper growth of the crops. If these properties of the soil is affected, then what will happen? It also affect the crop production, which we already discussed in chapter number 1. This is also a consequence that we are facing as a result of deforestation. So these are the main causes and consequences. In addition to that, many causes and consequences we can list out for deforestation. Before getting into the details of the methods of preserving or conserving the plants and wildlife, let's need to know how this living environment is organized. First one is we know that biosphere. What is biosphere? It is a part of earth in which living organisms exist or which support life. It consists of three components called lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere. Okay, it is a part of earth in which organisms exist or which support life. That means all the part of earth are not support for life. So this area is actually mainly classified into three sections or three components. One is lithosphere. Lithosphere means the part of earth in which life exists on the land areas related to land. Okay, you can see in the picture here. And atmosphere means it is a part of air, and hydrosphere means it is a part of water. That means oceans, seas, ponds, river, etc. So this is the meaning of what is biosphere. Okay, then what is biodiversity? It refers to the variety of organisms existing on earth, their interrelationship and their relationship with the environment. So that is called biodiversity. We know that our earth is highly diverse in the case of living components. That means here different varieties of organisms and their interrelationship, because many organisms are depending upon the other one for their basic needs. You may already have learned in lower classes that is different kinds of relations like mutualism, symbiotism, etc. So their interrelationship as well as their relationship with the environment. That means they are also depending on air, water, etc. other non-living things. So that is called biodiversity. So what do you mean by biodiversity? It is refers to the variety of organisms existing on earth, then their interrelationship as well as their relationship with the environment. Now, if we take a small part of the biosphere in which different organisms live in a particular area, that is called ecosystem. It's made up of all plants, animals and microorganisms in an area along with the non-living components such as climate, soil, river, etc. If we take a small forest or a valley, then we can see that there are different organisms including animals, plants, microorganisms as well as the non-living components like water, river, soil, rocks, etc. So that system is together we will call it as ecosystem. So these are the basic terms we need to remember regarding the living environment. Now let's discuss how to protect or how to conserve this forest and wildlife. For conserving the forest and wildlife, we have certain protected areas which are different from the normal areas. Let's discuss what are the things we have designed for these protected areas. This is actually, first one is that to protect our flora and fauna and their habitats, and certain protected areas have been enmarked, especially for flora and fauna. Flora means the plants which are found in particular area, and fauna are called animals found in particular area. So to protect these plants and animals as well as their habitats, that is including their surroundings, especially like a forest. Forest will be the habitat for most of the animals. Certain protected areas have been marked. Okay, second point we have to remember that plantation, cultivation, grazing, felling trees, hunting and poaching are prohibited in this area generally. Okay, such types of human activities are restricted because it is a protected area. Next one is that the plants and animals are found in particular area as called flora and fauna, that I already told you that this actually mainly these protected areas are mainly meant to conserve this flora and fauna. These protected areas are mainly in three types. One is biosphere reserve, national park and wildlife sanctuary. We will discuss these three types of protected areas in detail. Okay. So biosphere reserve is a large area which consists of small areas called a national park and a wildlife sanctuary. You can see here, these are the flora and fauna of Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is famous for different kind of beautiful orchid flowers and also different kinds of animals. Okay, because of its diverse living conditions. It is not only for flora and fauna, general flora and fauna, it is also protecting as endemic flora and endemic fauna. What are endemic flora and endemic fauna? Those species are actually plants or animals which are found exclusively in a particular area. They are only found in that particular area. They will not be found in any of the part of world. And a particular type of animal may be endemic or plant may be endemic to a particular zone, state or country. For example, we can see this is Midun. Midun is actually an animal which is endemic to the northeastern states of India because it is mainly found only in these regions. And these are the aims for making or marking the protected areas. Okay, now let's discuss biosphere reserve, national park and wildlife sanctuary in detail. I told you that biosphere is a part of earth which exists life or which support life. That means biosphere reserve is not only meant to protect plants and wildlife. It's a wide area, it's a large areas of protected land for conservation of wildlife, plants, animals, resources and traditional life of the tribals living in the area. Next, wildlife sanctuary. From the name itself, we can understand that it is mainly for animals. Areas where animals are protected from disturbance to them and their habitat. For example, Dibang Wildlife Sanctuary in Arunachal Pradesh, which is the part of Dihang Dibang Biosphere Reserve. I already told in the beginning that Biosphere Reserve is a large area which may consist of some national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, specifically protected. So this is mainly only for wildlife, animals. Next one is national park. National park is area reserved for wildlife where they can freely use the habitat and natural resources. That means the complete wildlife, not only the animals, including the plants, forests, everything, even microorganisms, everything will be preserved in that particular area. That is actually why national park is actually, we can say that in another way that it is a reserve forest. Okay, so this is the another kind of protected area. Namdapha National Park is one of the famous national park in the Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, now let's compare these protected areas in detail so that you will get a clear idea between the differences and similarities of these areas. I told you that biosphere reserve to protect entire biodiversity, not only wildlife. Okay, it is also used for economic development of the tribals living in that area. That means it protect entire life. Okay, not only plants and animals. While wildlife sanctuary are established for the protection of only animals. Now when we come to the national park, its aim is that it protect plants, animals, historical objects, and the entire ecosystem, including flora and fauna and non-living things. Entire system will be keeping us. That means it is completely reserved forest, especially it's a part of forest. We know that Satpura National Park, that is one of the famous national park in India, and there are a lot of historical objects found in that national park. Still, it is preserved, it is conserved as it is. One of the finest teak found in that Satpura National Park. What about the boundaries? Boundaries of the biosphere reserves are fixed actually. While in case of wildlife sanctuary, it is not fixed. And in case of national park, it is fixed. Next thing is that there are more restrictions and human activity is not allowed in the core zone. Because I told you that biosphere reserve is a large area. So it has one core zone. Okay. Then buffer zone, then outer zone. Because it is a large area. So in the core zone, human activities are not allowed. But however, it may be allowed in the outermost and buffer zone. Now in case of wildlife sanctuary, there are less restrictions and certain activities such as grazing by their livestock, collecting wild medicinal plants, firewood, etc. are allowed for the people living there, not for the outsiders. Especially many tribals are living near to the forest region or this wildlife sanctuary. So for those people, these types of activities are allowed, but however, hunting and capturing animals are prohibited. That is prohibited in wildlife sanctuaries. It is only meant for protecting animals. So grazing by the livestock or collecting medicinal plants or firewood, will not be affecting its aim. So that is also only for those people living in that area. Okay. So less restriction compared to biospheres. While when we come to national park, there are much more restriction. That means human activities are not at all allowed. Cutting of trees is also not allowed. Nothing is allowed. It's completely reserved. We can only enter through a particular region where the government is allowed to visit in that particular area. In the other part of the national park, we will not be able to enter. It is not allowed. Next, who will maintain these types of protected areas? This is owned by government, biosphere reserve. While wildlife sanctuary, they may be owned by government or privately owned. People also can make their own wildlife sanctuary, or most of the wildlife sanctuaries are owned by government. While in case of national park, that is owned by only government. And they are of large area. It may contain wildlife sanctuary and a national park, other protected areas. While national park and wildlife sanctuary are of small area. So I hope you got the differences and similarities among biosphere reserve, wildlife sanctuary and national park on comparing their aspects. And out of these three, one more protected area is that is called a zoo. In zoo, animals are kept in cages or in a particular protected area, only for to see public, and that is completely artificial protected area because their animals are given food by humans. Everything is given by humans. It is not, they are not finding anything by themselves. While in case of national park, wildlife sanctuary or biosphere reserve, they are finding their food, everything by their own. No human interfere. Okay, so that is the main difference between these three and the zoo. Zoo is completely artificial. So these all are for conserving or protecting for the wildlife, that means plants and animals. We know that endemic flora and fauna are exclusively found in particular area. That means if they are not conserved or protected properly, their number will be decreasing to a diminishing level, which means they might face extinction in the future. That means they might be extincted from the earth. Such types of species are called endangered species. Species of animals and plants whose numbers are diminishing to a level that they might face extinction are known as endangered animals. Especially this happens in case of endemic species because they are only found in particular areas. So if they extincted from that area, then that will be extincted from the whole world. This is the reason why we said that we need to protect this flora and fauna seriously. Otherwise, they become extincted. So, if endangered species are not given a proper care, especially tiger, the tiger reserve project is actually introduced by government to protect only tiger because tiger become endangered species in India, even though it is a national animal of India. So, to protect the tiger, a separate project is introduced that is called tiger reserve. So here we need to remember that if the endangered species are not protected properly, then it will be extinct. Once that particular species extinct, then it's not possible to bring back. We know that dinosaurs are extincted a long time ago. That was the Jurassic period. So since many animals and many kind of plants are extincted now, never think that only the big animals like a tiger, lion, etc. are face this extinction. Not only that, small animals also. Small animals are much more in danger of becoming extinct than bigger animals. They might be small in size, but their role in the ecosystem cannot be ignored. They are from the part of food chains and food web, etc. We already learned in lower class that ecosystem is balanced with the different kind of organisms, different kinds of animals and plants by making food chain and food webs. So if one or two animals is become extinct, it will affect the whole chain. That means it will affect that balancing system of the ecosystem. Every species, every animals and plants found on the earth have their own role. And for getting the proper information about this endangered species, a record is keeping that is called Red Data Book. So this is all about you need to understand what is endangered species. Now this all we have said that regarding to protect wildlife. Now the first I told you that deforestation. So these protected areas only we can protect in that particular area, but that is not sufficient for reducing the deforestation. We also need to think other ways or other measures to reduce the deforestation. So how can we reduce the deforestation? Let's discuss that. First way is the recycling of paper. Why? Because it takes 17 full-grown trees to make 1 ton of paper. Therefore, we should save the paper. Paper is made from trees. So, if you are using paper continuously in large amount, to meet the requirement of the paper, we need to cut a large number of trees. That leads to the deforestation. So, we should save the paper. How can we save the paper? We can reuse, recycle, etc. By this way, we can save the paper. And also nowadays, many companies, many authorities have introduced the e-billing system. That means electronic billing system to avoid the use of paper to make the bill. That is also a way to save the paper. But this is also not a proper solution, or this is also not a final solution for deforestation. Because once we cut the trees, it will take long time to grow the trees by their own. That means to become reforestation. That is the only one way we can reduce the reforestation. So reforestation occurs naturally, but it's very slow. So what we need to do? We need to plant the trees to make the process of reforestation faster. That is, restocking of destroyed forests by planting new trees. It is the permanent solution to the problem of deforestation. Plant trees, maximum number of trees wherever we can possible. So that is the only permanent solution to reduce the deforestation. So this is all about this chapter. I hope you got clear idea about these basic terms related to the conservation of plants and animals. And rather than understanding these terms, we should know seriously the importance of conserving these plants and animals. Because nowadays the whole world is discussing about the climate change and global warming. Many international scientific organizations have given the report that within couple of years, Earth become not suitable for life as increased rate of global warming as well as climate change. You may also notice that in your surroundings that many places our temperature may be increasing and the plants are getting number of plants are getting reduced and different kinds of species which you already have seen now it is not able to see. These all are the consequences of the deforestation. The consequences of this deforestation is not a sudden thing, so which we may not notice suddenly. But slowly, when it is affecting, and when it reaches beyond a limit, then we can't bring back. So we have to take care of this deforestation, and even if we are cutting the trees for our basic needs, because to meet the basic requirements in our daily life, we may need to cut the trees, of course. But what is the thing we have to remember? If we cut one tree, we should plant minimum 10 trees. So that proportion if we keep, we can again maintain this green wealth of the earth. Without that, by learning this textbook or by learning these terms and conditions, no use, because we cut the trees and make the paper and you'll write on that paper save the tree. So we are not supposed to be like that. We should take the precautions, we should take the measures seriously and sincerely so that we can save the nature. So this is all about this chapter. Go through the textbook thoroughly. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching.